Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Well, Wellness Saturday, and I'm so happy to be able to be outside this Saturday. Normally, I'm outside, but last week it was raining, so I was inside. But it's so nice to just hear the bird song, just to listen to nature in all its beauty. Good morning. Thanks for tuning into a Wellness Saturday. So, this is day 40, no, day 41, not day 40. Day 41 of the Vine Health live update on the COVID-19 pandemic. And the whole idea is to help you sort of survive and really live well and thrive in your health during this time. So today we'll be talking about what we should be measuring in our body, and how we can sort of stay healthy. The last couple of weeks, I've talked about the fridge not being your enemy, how to be motivated to keep your body trim, because as you know, if your body is trim and slim, then you're less likely to have a worsening of any chronic disease, or not even develop it at all, or even go back to normal. So we'll be talking about that, but not before we talk about the updates from the last 24 hours. Thank you for everyone who's been watching for the last 41 days, apart from Sundays. And thank you for liking and sharing our videos and liking the page. So keep doing that until the pandemic is over. Let's keep going till the pandemic is over. So what's happened in the last 24 hours? I am disappointed with Nigeria's data is going up. Last week Saturday when I came on, the data, we had 493 cases in Nigeria a week ago. And a week later, we have 1,095. So it has doubled, more than doubled in a week. Again, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I'm sure many of you are as well, because the last thing we want is an epidemic of coronavirus in Nigeria. The good thing is that the number of deaths is still in the 30s, so it's still quite small, but we don't want an epidemic in Nigeria. We just can't. I don't know if we can cope with that now, but I know that they're doing everything they can to make sure that this doesn't become an epidemic, and the NCDC, as I keep giving kudos to them, are doing their best. So is the Lagos State government, as far as I'm aware. So my home country, Nigeria, let's just keep our fingers crossed, no epidemic. But I'll check it again with you next Saturday. Hopefully the 1,095 will not have doubled in a week's time, or tripled. We don't want that. Hopefully we'll start to tail off and stabilize from now. So that's going on in Nigeria. The lockdown is still on. There's rumors that they might extend it. I don't know if anybody knows about that, but well, we'll have to see. Hopefully not, and they can use other ways to stem the pandemic. So that's Nigeria. For the United Kingdom, the cases are now over 19,000. So over 19,000 cases in the United Kingdom. So we're close to 20,000. We're about to join the league of 20,000ers in over this pandemic period. So I think that will happen possibly today. We'll join the 20,000 league, which is awful. So Italy, Spain, the US, just a few countries have had over 20,000 deaths, which is a real shame. And the United Kingdom, again, the lockdown is still going on. There is a lot of talk about exiting from the lockdown, and people are pushing. So I think you're home, but prepare to the lockdown is going to be lifted slightly soon, is my feeling. And there's already questions about asking people to nominate 10 people that they will want to be spending time with in their families. So I think they're going to try and do a little bit of a easing of the lockdown. So yeah, so that's going to happen soon, which the restful time, which is great, will soon be coming to an end in some form. But life will never be the same, I don't think, anyway. Now the United States, that is the biggest, most interesting, tragically funny situation, to be honest. The number of deaths in the United States is over 50,000 now, but we have to bear in mind that this is a large country. So this is a large country relative to all the other countries. So I think it's proportional to their population. What is not interesting about America is the fact that the president is taking all the attention away from where it should be. You know, the attention really should be on the people, on the frontline staff, on the people who are doing all the work. But unfortunately, Donald Trump is taking all the attention, and not in a good way. You know, it's leadership is hard. Leadership is a difficult thing to do, and you never get it perfectly right as a leader. Working on leadership is tough. But Donald Trump I'm not sure what he's doing. And this disinfectant saga, when I heard about the disinfectant situation and the lights, putting the lights inside and outside, I thought it was a joke, but watching the whole video shows that there is an issue. Well, the United States, if you live in the US, your elections are in November. You can exercise your right and either keep Donald Trump in power or vote for Joe Biden, who seems to be the other person. But yeah, so the United States, that's happening. Unemployment has gone through the roof in the United States. It's a real issue. So and again, it's still the minority ethnic population that are suffering the most. The ones who don't have medical insurance, ones who don't have access to good health care, they are the ones who are suffering. And it is really sad. So there's something that the ethnic minority people need to start to do as well, to look after themselves. And that's also the same in the United Kingdom. The ethnic minority population, we have a lot to answer for within our community. It's not always about something being done to us. It's about what are we doing to lift ourselves out of the situation that we're in. So having all the ethnic minority staff dying, the frontline staff, the ones, the people who are in transport, what are we doing to actually, take ourselves away from this way we appear to almost needing help all the time? We have to do something different about it. And I suppose that will take me to what I really want to talk about today, which is what should you be measuring? What should you be measuring? So a few weeks, last couple of weeks, we talked about being motivated to not eat too much during this time, particularly as we are sedentary, meaning that we're not really exercising as much as we were before. So being able to motivate ourselves, and we talked about intermittent fasting, which is one way of doing it. Intermittent fasting is when you go to bed, the night before. It's preferably, people can do it at different times. But for instance, you go to bed at, you have your last meal at 8 o'clock at night, and you don't have another meal maybe until 12 p.m. the following day. So you have a long period where you're not eating any food, and people find that helpful. We talked about so intermittent fasting, and we also talked about scheduling your meals, knowing exactly when you're going to eat, so that you're only eating at those certain times. And I also talked about not measuring, not weighing yourself all the time, because it's demoralizing when you get on the scales and nothing has changed in all that time. It's just like, okay, what's the point of it all? And then you go and have another cake and another ice cream or another really big bowl of pounded yam, because you don't have that encouragement. But the one thing that you should measure, I've talked about this before in times past, the one thing that you should measure is your waist circumference. That you should know, because the bad fat settles there, and when you have a lot of fat around that area, what will happen is that you have more tendency to develop things like diabetes and hypertension. So if there's one thing you want to do today, is to measure your waist circumference. And if you find your belly button, so if you find your belly, it was a place to measure. You have to be very specific where you measure it, because some people go and measure in the smallest area of their body. No, that's not where you measure it. It's not where you put your skirt. You find your belly button, and you find your pubic bone. That's by your where your boxers are, or where your knickers are. So between your belly button and your pubic bone at the top there, you measure. That's where you should measure. And it's worth maybe noting down your waist circumference. And as I said, for men that should be 34, and for women that should be about 31, or below if you want. I mean, people find that very hard to achieve, because as you get older as well, that is where fat settles. You eat something little, it all goes down there. So you measure that one thing. The other thing you should know, particularly if you're over 40, if you're under 40, many of these tests are not done. I mean, you can still measure your waist circumference, but most in the West, you don't really do all your blood tests. But if you're over 40, The other thing you should also know and have to hand is your cholesterol level, number one. So you should be able to write that down somewhere. You should know your HbA1c. So do you have diabetes or not? And even if you don't have diabetes, are you pre-diabetic? Some people are not diabetic yet, but they're edging towards diabetes. So you want to know your HbA1c, which is a test for diabetes. You want to know your cholesterol level. You want to know your waist circumference as well, and you want to know your blood pressure. So those are the 4 things you should be measuring, and also just measure that. And your waist circumference would increase, particularly with things like also alcohol. I've not talked about alcohol because I feel that alcohol and other forms of addiction are a very specialist area, and I'm not a qualified addiction specialist, so I don't really want to talk about that. But what I'm qualified to do in my role as a doctor is to talk about what levels of alcohol are safe, because the more you drink, the more sick you become, the more depressed you become, the bigger your waist circumference, the more your chances of developing hypertension or diabetes. And because we're in lockdown, many people are finding that they're drinking more alcohol than they normally would. In fact, I had a patient the other day who had, was at home, so he not only does not drink during the week, was then drinking every day, in the evening just to relax. And he developed an irregularity of his heartbeat, and his blood pressure went through the roof. So that's the effect alcohol can have, particularly at every age, but particularly as we get older. So those are my tips for today. So remember your science of motivation. Remember your exercises. We talked about the plank challenge before. We talked about stepping up and stepping down from the stairs. We've talked about wall sits. We've talked about then, motivating yourself to manage what you're eating and how much you're eating. And for those who want to measure something, remember to measure only the things that are evidence-based. I forgot before I go, there was a question that came yesterday. God help me. I think I need someone to help me with these questions. Someone talked about COVID-19 and vitamin D. I will tackle that better on Monday. But there's been this lots of discussions about if you're vitamin D deficient, that it might worsen your COVID-19 outcomes. So I'll remember to tackle that at our next update on Monday. So if you want to hear about vitamin D and COVID-19, do let us know. Thank you for those who are ordering vitamin D from our website. I appreciate that. The process is seamless. We had good feedback, so I'm grateful. So I'll tackle that on Monday. Now tomorrow, as I always say, tomorrow is Sunday. We don't have updates on Sunday because Sunday is sacred, and we always say it's time for you to spend time in your own spiritual practice. Whatever spiritual practice you follow, Sunday is a good time to reflect on yourself and prepare for the coming week as well. And for all our Muslim brothers and sisters, happy Ramadan. I hope that the Lord hears your prayers during this time. So you guys, enjoy your weekend. Have a good Sunday. Share the video. People don't watch it at different times of the day, and I appreciate that. Please share the video, watch it back, share with your friends, and give us some feedback and some tips, and keep sending your questions, and we'll keep on tackling them. Thank you, everyone.